Okay, ready. Reading from the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Volume 1, Chapter 2, Text 83. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Viprakīrṇa-jaṭā-bhāra unmatta ghūrṇate tathā sva-gopanāśaktaḥ kṛṣṇa-pādābja-śauca-jām Gaṅgāṁ mūrdhni vahan harṣān nṛtyaṁś layate jagat. His matted locks scattered about, he moves around aimlessly like a madman, yet he is unable to conceal his glories. With joy he carries on his head the Gaṅgā, born from the water that washed Krishna's lotus feet. When he dances, he destroys the universe. Purport. Lord Shiva rejects with disdain the ambitions of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, liberation. He has no desire to be an independent controller and enjoyer. The satisfaction others derive from worldly pursuits and the achievement of supremacy do not attract him. He identifies himself fully as a servant of Krishna. In Lord Shiva's view, demigods like Brahma and Indra are addicted to sense enjoyment. Their celestial garlands, ornaments, and perfumes last only a short time and so leave them dissatisfied. Better than the decorations of the demigods are his own garlands made of bones and intoxicating weeds, which at least cause no disappointment when they decay. These strange ornaments, Lord Shiva thinks, are no less substantial than Indra and Brahma's divine garlands. But these are only the Lord Shiva's external decorations. His real ornament and his real enjoyment are found in the mercy of Sri Krishna. Humbly thinking himself bereft of that mercy, he feels fit to wear weeds and bones. With such ideas in mind, the great Lord Shiva conducts himself in his own peculiar way. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Taksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So greetings from Govardhan on the last day of Purushottama Mas, and then on Friday evening, 11 p.m., I'll leave back for America. It's really a blessing to actually stay here at this time of the year. It's very pleasant. Even right now, I don't have any fan on, and I'm fairly comfortable. So I always start with the theme, Parama Dasha Antim. And these are common Sanskrit words. I think even probably most of you know, Parama, supreme, Antim, the end, Dasha, not dasa, but Dasha, means stage. And Sanatana Goswami has the seva. Bhakti means to be available for service. And you can never understand what that is. It's given by Krishna and Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta. It's so auspicious, whatever service you get. Just like this month, I was just given the service of chanting Hare Krishna all day. And whatever service God gives you. Sanatana Goswami had the service of communicating the instructions, which is found in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's described when he got Sanatan Siksha, his instructions, and to conceptualize them and express them. And the other day, I went into Vrindavan for the whole day. I still have my room there, but I don't stay there anymore. I just come right back. I have my beautiful here, the light and the air I have here. So nice. But I went in and I take a rickshaw for the whole day. I have a particular person I use. He's great. And even to get to Lowy Bazaar, you can't even go directly. You have to go around and then back. And I tried to leave plenty of time. And then there's this very wonderful devotee. And she has a friend. And they're quite advanced. Friend's name's Gadadhar. He always has a harmonium with a strap. He never goes any place without it. Like Narada Muni, always chanting Krishna consciousness. And his friend, Sarah, she's dedicated herself to cooking gourmet prasad for the Vaishnavas. In fact, Dinabandhu has some condition. He can't have gluten. He can't have this. She cooks for him every day. So when I come in, she's so happy and she cooks for me. And it's my diet's real simple here. She makes homemade ice cream. I take just a few tablespoons and I give it to someone who really likes. And so anyway, I left plenty of time so I can get back there at 2. But I left early. But the traffic, it's insane. Where is that? I'll show you one thing. Who gave me that picture? 1 second. Oh, I know where it is. You want to see what Vrindavan's like during, how can they block out that? During Purushottam Mas? That's what Vrindavan's like during Purushottam Mas. And then there's 1,000 rickshaws trying to get through, and then narrow streets, and there's a truck and a rickshaw, and it's just insane. But then I was visiting two friends, two teachers who used to work for me in the Gopinath Bhavan, which is it's like an MVT for the Gaudiya Math. It's really, when you go inside, it's like these Rajasthani things where there's courtyard after courtyard. And they're both very, Vrindavan Vilasini, she's a god sister, and she was one of those 12 hours a day, 7 days a week book distributors who would dance in joy from terminal to terminal. They were so fired up. And Vaijayanti Mala, I also knew a husband who took sannyas. I had to pick up some books, Sanskrit books for my godbrother Pradyumna. But, I was speaking to them, and it was just great to spend time with people and it's so, there's just not a lot of people around here. So, you can actually sit with people and talk Krishna-katha and see old friends. They were teachers, they worked for me, or worked with me, I should say. But Vaijayanti Mala, she's an editor, does so much service. But she told me that Srila Narayan Maharaj said that Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta is the foundation for all other Goswami literatures, everything that Rupa Goswami wrote, because it was the first book written. To explain this, the dasha is stages. To explain the stages, to really understand the top stage, you have to understand the stages that come before, because they hold the essence. So the same thing will be in every stage in a different way, a different, more refined way, until you get to the topmost stage, and you can understand what it is in intensity and purity, because you've gone through all the stages. So it's quite an incredible book, and this progression of devotion, dasha, stages, and as the Bhagavatam is, but in this incredible story form. We're just studying part one, but those of you that attend these classes, I'm going to go right through, and I'm going to get to the Gopkumar story too. But they're both, it's interesting, both of the stories are about going through the stages. And so is the Bhagavatam. It's such an interesting way of helping you really understand the essence. And in the process of doing so, become purified of attachments and become purified of misconceptions, so that you'll be able to see the reality of purity in something which is reflected in the material world as the most intensely materialistic activity, which is conjugal love. So he has to explain this, and not just explain it, but not just teach it, explain it. Explaining means doing it in a way that people could understand it. So we had the basic idea of devotion when Narada saw the Brahmin. And really, their detachment, which is one of the symptoms of bhav, is not just detachment, but viprakīrṇa, which means indifference. To show detachment, indifference, you can't just show that people are aloof, because they can be aloof because they don't have it. But detachment is really shown when someone has it. So he shows the power of bhakti. He shows this Brahmin and the level of his worship. And then the king, which is even more impressive because he's an emperor. And to be surrounded by wealth and still be in the conception of non-possessiveness or non-attachment. To still be in that, so it's a beautiful thing. And to see how someone in the midst of that doesn't fall into the illusion that the energy is separate from God and mind, because that's what Maya is. Maya is to see things as not God's. That's Maya, that's the illusion. And why do you see it? Because you want to see it as not God, because you want to have that feeling of supremacy. Like when my friend Henry, he's on the Sunday class, he picked me up in his Rolls Royce at the airport. Maybe it's an antique Rolls Royce. And the front of the car was like an aircraft carrier. It was so big. So riding in that and riding down the street, it's so easy to fall in this conception of supremacy and enjoy it. That sense that I'm great, I'm better than others. So to see this king with the whole kingdom, but not being affected. It's so easy to get a little facility and start rationalizing how many needs you have that you didn't have before when you didn't. I've seen that. I've seen people, they start off, they have nothing, and they have more, and they're always in the same economic status that they have no money, because no matter how much they get, they expand their material existence. And then Indra and his level of worship, he's even greater. He's the king of heaven. And then Lord Brahma, he's the secondary creator, the dispenser of karma. And they're all shown in the worship of God. And now we're up to the prayers of Brahma is pointing to Lord Shiva. But the salient feature or character of each person is humility. That idea that someone is better than them doesn't bother them. And this is a real test of Krishna consciousness in your own world, in your own category of whatever it is, disciples or friends or whatever, your own clique. Someone is better than you and it doesn't bother you. Rather, you become happy when someone advances. So they all have this quality. And therefore, they don't seek prestige or they don't seek worship. They seek service. That's their faith. And that really has to be our faith, that the highest thing is service. I know one young devotee here, they were in terrible pain for 20 years, for 10 years, excruciating pain, at least once a day for an hour or two. And they try to avoid taking a narcotic to not be addicted. And then to relieve the pain, it was a lady, but never to have children, and she was only 30. She had to have some operation, and she chose to have it in Vrindavan. Faith. But what is good and bad karma? Because such devotion, such meditation on Krishna in the heart, such taste for the holy name. It's a whole different criteria, whole different value system. Their shraddha, their faith, their trust and sublimity is in the holy name of Krishna. It's just like that story with Sanatana Goswami. There's some kind of story that someone heard he had the most valuable thing or something. I don't know. Man, I forgot but the end of the story was the person got this jewels and Sanatana Goswami says, you want the most valuable thing, then you throw that out right now and I'll give you the money. The guy was so great, he threw it out. And what was the most valuable thing? Nama Shreshtam. The list of qualities of mercy of Guru. Nama Shreshtam Manum Api Sachi Putram Atra Sarupam Rupam Tasya Grajam Uruparim Matara Gostavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasam Prapto Yasya Patita Kripiya Tam Natosmi Shri Gurum Tam. Guru gives so many things. Nama Shreshtam. But the best thing is the holy name of Krishna. Nama Chintamani Krishna. Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Shruta Purno Nityamuktam. Binatam Nami Namano. Nama Chintamani Krishna. The holy name is like a Chintamani stone. Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. It's the form of all bliss. It's the form that actually gives life to the consciousness. Shruta Purno, Nityamukto. It's pure, it's complete, it's transcendental. Binatam Nama Namano. And the name, they're non-different. So they have this conception, but when you come to Lord Shiva, it's described here in the purport. He rejects He's fully on the platform of Nadanam, Najanam, the Sundarim, Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye, Mama Janmani Janma Ishvari, Bhavatad Bhakti Ahoita Ki Twai. Doesn't want wealth, followers, aristocracy, learning, the opposite sex. Doesn't want to be an independent controller and enjoyer. That is material consciousness. We have a body because we don't want to be a devotee. We want to be an independent enjoyer and controller. Well, congratulations. You've achieved your desire by Krishna's mercy, but are you happy? The satisfaction others derive from worldly pursuits and the achievement of supremacy does not attract him. He identifies himself fully as a servant of Krishna. And then it goes on to explain he has no desire to control, and therefore he doesn't dress according to any upadi. That means a material designation. Designation puts you in a place, a particular place, but not your eternal place. That's a material designation. And what is bhakti? Sarva padi, all the upadis, veneer muktam, giving them up. Sarva padi, tatpara twain and nirmalam, rishikena, sevanam bhakta uttama. This is called bhakti. But his real ornament and his real enjoyment is found in the mercy of Krishna. Because the mercy of Krishna is real. The mercy of Krishna is real happiness. Real happiness is Krishna's love, which enters our hearts, which we can attract by our love and attention and our worship. And the reciprocation of Krishna is our real pleasure. And he's humble. He's humble. It's funny, you get the greatest thing, and the greatest thing makes you humble. Because you don't deserve it. That's the thing. When you get the greatest thing, which is Krishna's mercy, you don't deserve it. And why don't you deserve it? Because you're in this body for supremacy and control. So how the hell did you get Krishna's mercy? You left him, you turned away. Isharupe tasya. So how you got Krishna's mercy? So Brahma has been glorifying Lord Shiva. He's doing, it's not just his service, but his consciousness. It's so profound. I was actually a little bit worried about speaking about these verses because I was trying to find something in them. Krishna-pādābja-śauca-jām madrisham hadikarinam abhishtarpayatum muktis tasya patyapi shakyate. By Krishna's grace, Lord Shiva and his wife are able to award liberation to candidates like me who eagerly want it. So what they can give is the highest thing. And what is real liberation? Surupena vivastita. Vastita, situated in surupena, in your own surup. Principal demigods like Indra and Brahma enjoy high posts in the administration of the universe. But after carrying out extensive duties for millions of years, they may tire of this burden. Thus, liberation from material existence begins to look more and more attractive to them. In the midst of all the pomp and luxury of heavenly rulership, many demigods quietly harbor the desire for liberation. Bhoga is meant for liberation. Everything's meant for liberation. Because it never satisfies you. And if you have any spiritual acumen, you're desperate. You achieve material things, then where to go? If you don't have it, at least you can aspire for it. But when you get it and it's nothing. And I wrote about that in my article in Monday Morning Greetings, Who Wants to Be a Billionaire? You actually see. Look around the world, look around the rich and famous. They're confused and miserable. And there's so much fear and duality. When you know that you can look at your objective and you can look at your future, and your future is non-existence on the plane that you identify with, it's terribly frightening. And that's why bhakti and having some understanding of the soul is the greatest mercy. Neha bhikramanashosti pratyavayo navidyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bayat. A little endeavor on this path saves you from the greatest fear. The greatest fear is the fear of non-existence, because it makes everything meaningless. It gives it as much validity as a sandcastle on the shore that a child is making. And I remember you used to build the sandcastle. You used to, I don't know if you did this when you were kids, and you dig the troughs and you're trying to keep the water away as the tide comes in. But as that great king said, and Prabhupada quote him, time and tide wait for no man. I am time, the destroyer of all worlds, and I've come to engage all people. Just a little story about that. My college roommate, Bloop, to become a hippie on the West Coast. I went out to visit him, and visiting him is when we met the devotees. I joke about this, but it used to be when America was a rich country. Can you imagine that my friend was a hippie, and he was able to live with two other friends in a house in Hollywood? Now you can't even get a closet. Now you have to sleep out on the street. Now there's homeless. But he got a card to a Sunday feast. And we went, and we got turned on to Krishna consciousness, 1970. And so he came back because he was dodging the draft. So he had to report. So he stayed at me at my apartment. And he was always trying to push me further, because he had joined and I was still going to college. So I had a little black alarm clock. And when I woke up in the morning, he had taped with adhesive tape on the back And I woke up and I looked and it said, time I am on a clock, the destroyer of all worlds, and I've come to engage all people. So he's got so much mercy, but it makes him humble. Because it's so great. Bhakti is so great that you can't imagine in your wildest dreams how you've done anything to earn it. Aho sarva pite mukta shiva loka nivasina muktastad kripaya Krishna bhaktascha bayam. Okay, I read that one. Everyone on this planet is liberated. Indeed, everyone who lives on Lord Shiva's planet is liberated by his mercy. So many people have become liberated souls and even pure devotees of Krishna. Kripaya, by his mercy. Lord Shiva is Nitya Mukta, eternally liberated, and his devotees are also liberated. Many other fortunate souls living on lower planets like Earth have also been blessed by his mercy and liberation, which have given these souls the strength to advance spiritually in various ways. What's the greatest strength? Humility. Because you have to resist the false ego. And that really takes power. Because being bodied, we're always acting in a way for supremacy and control subtly until we really deeply. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavat akinchana saivai gunas tathā samasaye suraharava bhaktasya kato mahagana mano-rate dasati bhavatomiti. Material qualities, even good qualities, are a calculation by the false ego. Subtly, until you come to the platform of the soul, where from the core of your heart, your only objective is to serve. So to resist, Daivi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Dharatya, the divine energy of Krishna, which you called, which you attracted by your desire not to be what you are. The illusory potency comes to fulfill your desire. So to change your desire, really in the core of your heart, that I just want to serve. And to be humble. And to admit that you're wrong. And to admit you made mistakes. Krishna Shivasya Vedeksha Mahadosha Karimata Ago Bhagavata Swasmin Shamyate Na Shive Kritam. To consider Lord Shiva different from Krishna is a serious spiritual deviation. The personality of God tolerates offenses against himself, but not against Lord Shiva. Purport. Lord Shiva is described as a recipient of Lord Vishnu's mercy, but this does not mean that the two lords are different from one another in the same way that Lord Vishnu differs from the Jiva. The Padma Purana includes the Nama Parad Bhajana Stotram, a list of 10 offenses against chanting Lord Vishnu's name. Therein it is said, Shivasya Shri Vishnur Yaiha Gunanamadi Sakalam Dhiya Binam Pashyate Nakalu Harinamita Kara. One who sees differences between any of Lord Shiva's qualities and names and those of Lord Sri Vishnu is an antagonist to Harinam. Padma Purana, Brahma Khanda 25:15. Lord Vishnu cannot tolerate offenses against Lord Shiva because Lord Shiva is the greatest of Lord Vishnu's empowered incarnations. Lord Shiva is especially empowered to distribute in the material world the elevated taste of pure devotional service. Well, I've always heard the 10 offenses not to consider Lord Shiva equal or independent of. So it's Shiva tathā. So it's that the only analogy that describes it is milk to yogurt. How much difference is? They're the same thing, but on another level, they're different. Because yogurt is a transformation of milk. So within milk, there's yogurt, but you can't turn yogurt back to milk. So that's also a feature of Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, because bhakti is based on sambandha gyan, the proper metaphysical understanding. It's like looking for a treasure. There's finding out where the treasure is, having the ability to extract it, and then understanding its value and appreciating it. So that's described as sambandha, abhideya, and prayojana. The most important thing is sambandha. Sambandha, metaphysical knowledge. Because if you don't have metaphysical knowledge, you can't go to abhideya tathā. You really, without faith, you're not going to adopt the prospect to realize it. Abhideya is how to realize the absolute truth. But if you don't know what the absolute truth is, then it's the means of realizing the absolute truth. But you have to understand what the absolute truth is. So that's sambandha gyan, and part of that is, for us, is ete chamsa kala pumsa Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam, that Krishna is the Swayam, the original personality of Godhead. But on the other hand, to see Lord Shiva as different is also an offense. Seeing it as independent of Krishna. Something like that. But anyway, it's the best I can do with this purport. Now, the next, and I'm not going to get into it, is just all the times where Krishna, and now it shows Krishna's supremacy. When Maya, the master of Tripura, grew intoxicated with pride by Lord Shiva's benediction and placed Lord Shiva in danger, and when Lord Shiva was troubled by other demons like Prakasura, the Supreme Lord saved him and encouraged him with nectarian words. And sometimes to broadcast Lord Shiva's glories, Lord Krishna takes the role of his subordinate and worships him with intimate devotion. Although Krishna was personally present at the churning of the nectar of the milk ocean, he and the rulers of the universe choose to worship Lord Shiva, the life and soul of Gauri. Lord Shiva collected and drank the terrible poison which thereafter became his ornament. He was then ceremonially bathed in the presence of everyone assembled and was glorified with floods of praise. So this is Lord Brahma just saying, this is another level. This is really the topmost recipient of Krishna's mercy. Because look at his relationship with Krishna. So intimate. The Puranas sing of Lord Hari's compassion towards Lord Hara. That's Lord Shiva. You surely know all this, O thoughtful sage. To recall these glories, you need to only execute your memory. Oh dear, Parikshit said, oh dear mother, affectionate protector of your son, Narada bowed down to his spiritual master, Lord Brahma. And when Lord Brahma saw his son Narada eager to set off for Kailash, Brahma then told him something more. Lord Brahma said, Kuvera once earned the gratitude of Lord Shiva by devoutly worshiping him. From then on, within this universe, Lord Shiva has submitted to Kuvera's authority. Okay, this on Kuvera's on Kailash. Okay, Jamunajaya, you have some point you appreciated?
Hi, Bill Mirage. Thank you so much for class. Yeah, I always love the glories of Lord Shiva. I think it's complex and wonderful, but I really love what you said about humility being actually the greatest strength. Because you're fending off I really appreciated that point so much. Sort of like you said a while ago, that humility is the greatest confidence. And I love both of those. I love both of those points so much.
Yeah, because sometimes we look at humility as weakness. Because a person's willing to submit. But a lot of times that's very, very powerful, like a person apologizing, admitting they're wrong, serving someone else. It takes a lot of strength. Okay, thanks, Jamunajaya.
Thank you, Raj.
Okay, anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Yeah, there are a couple of things. One is, today was an example of how you really present Krishna consciousness in a very attractive way by the simplicity with which you express, by the simplicity with which you express it. Like when you said, real happiness is Krishna's love. That just goes straight to my heart. When you say stuff like that, it's so simple, yet but the directness is so beautiful. So thank you for that.
Thank you. That came to me chanting this morning. I'm chanting all day, but it came. Yeah. So it had an extra conviction. Okay, go ahead. What else, Gail?
Yeah, I just want to confirm one thing when it comes to Lord Shiva, because we do hear that Lord Shiva is Krishna's way of interacting with the material energy, because Krishna never comes in contact with it. So that's what Lord Shiva is kind of for, So in this way, he is different from Krishna, not independent, but different. So if we see Lord Shiva as different in this way, it would not be considered offensive, would it?
No.
As long as we acknowledge that he is dependent, to acknowledge that difference should not be offensive, right?
As long as you are doing it from the platform of acknowledging that it's just milk. You can acknowledge that it's yogurt if you acknowledge that it's also just milk.
So
you know what I'm saying? You can acknowledge the difference if you acknowledge that it's the same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
It's interesting, Gail, to give you some solace. I'm trying to write a book on Vaishnava behavior, so it's going slow, but I was in this section and I wanted to make a point about it where Lord Chaitanya is walking with Rupa Goswami, and then he's introducing him to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Ramananda Roy. And Lord Chaitanya glorifies Rupa Goswami to test them. So that's a very important point, that how powerful envy is and how the Lord tested. But then there are two verses after it which I couldn't figure out for the life of me, what they had to do and how they fit in. So I wrote Borijan, who's not only like so expert at getting the overview, but he's actually writing a book on the CC right now. And what that means is he applies his incredibly penetrating intelligence to understand the connection between everything. That's his forte. He did Surrender Unto Me with the Bhagavad Gita. He's doing it with the Bhagavatam. So I asked him about these verses, and he wrote back, but he didn't touch those 2 verses. And I pressed him on it, and he just said, he said, "Is that answer okay?" I said, "You gave me so much more understanding of what's happening, but I still don't understand." He said, "There's just some things that you just can't figure out." So, yeah. Okay. Anybody else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, Tota Gopinath here. So good to hear from you.
See you a
Looking
few
forward to
days.
seeing you.
Yeah, it's great. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for class.
Still in some place?
No, we're back at the farm in New York, Maharaj.
You're back in the farm.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just got back last night.
Okay. Okay. Good. Welcome back. Okay.
Thanks, Maharaj.
Thanks, Maharaj.
Could I
Okay.
call you soon, perhaps?
What?
Could I
You
call
call me
you?
right after this.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Anybody else?
Maharaj,
Yeah. You just-
you
I both.
dear. Hare Krishna, my obeisances. The so many things, but just concisely, one of my highlights of listening to you for the last hour was when initially you said, referring to the devotees who were teachers working for you, and then you corrected yourself to be with, right? And I was thinking about Vaidhi versus moving towards Raganuga Bhakti, and that the English language, at least, and I'm sure every other language, is like full of traps that lead us towards thinking that we're the doers and we're the controllers and we're being served and all this, just by words like my and all these things. It's just such a constant trap. And words matter so deeply like that. It just captures us at just about every step. And the other thing is, at least in ISKCON in the early days, I think it's moving away, is if somebody was, chanting about Lord Shiva, for example, at least me, I would almost, I would skip that part of the kirtan, if it was another on YouTube or whatever, listening to,
Yeah, no, that was us in the beginning. I'd walk in India and I'd look at
exactly,
the temple of Brahman, Lord Shiva, and think these were the enemies.
exactly,
Yeah. Well,
exactly.
hopefully we're maturing from the Lord of the Flies.
I
which
will
is
see
what-
Brahm.
which is what ISKCON was in the beginning of the days. It's a bunch of kids, and some people had to be in charge.
So funny. I'll be spending the day, I'm in Gainesville. I'll be spending the day with Brahma-tirtha and his wife Bhakti.
Oh, that's great. That's great. They're the best. They're absolutely the best.
Yeah, so sweet. So thank
Okay,
you so much for this. Was
okay,
a great
great.
class. Yeah, really
Great.
appreciate
Thank you. Anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's Chad. Wonderful class. Just want to comment on Unisteer. Sort of even in counseling, that language, because I come from a counseling profession. Even in language, just how you communicate in relationships, the I often becomes a source of dysfunction between the two, and even their own pain. And so there's certain ways of rephrasing to really, yeah.
Chad, I'm so happy that you're a regular now on
Oh yeah, I
Sunday.
love it. I can't. This is actually Wednesday and Sunday are the only things. Well, I have a lot of things to look forward to, but these are the 2 most important things that I look forward to.
Great. Okay, great. Good. Anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, Namasak is here. Thank you
Haribo.
for the great class. Haribo.
Great to hear from you. Yeah.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Hemalata Radha.
Oh, great to see you. Yeah.
We've been trying to speak, but the microphone was not working. I'm glad that now it's working.
Hey, Senor.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Senor.
Maharaj,
Muy bien, Maharaj. Gracias.
What were you going to say?
sorry Maharaj for the interruption. I wanted to mention that you said Sambandha, metaphysical knowledge, the most important, as without it, we cannot move towards, forward.
Yeah. Otherwise, we think Krishna is illusion, or we think we're God. There's so many misconceptions. So without the right conceptions, and therefore 80 or 90% of Shastra is Sambandha Gyan. And it's called Siddha Pradesh, instructions that lead to perfection. And Prabhupada put that in every purport strongly, a depth of that understanding.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Great. We'll see you guys soon. Boy, I'm watching that Parikram path, and that Dandavat Parikram is not easy.
No,
And there are,
Maharaj. We've been training.
hundreds.
Yeah.
There are hundreds and hundreds. It's become the fad. And it's okay when you're in but sometimes you're going through narrow streets, I mean, and the thing is, but you guys can't get proud because there's fat old Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta Delhiwalas and old ladies and 8-year-old kids, so it's a whole, and they look totally exhausted, and sometimes they're sitting in one place. So it's going to be ecstasy.
Hopefully we will, with Krishna's mercy, we will see that way, Maharaj.
Yes.
We will be able to.
You'll see it. Shamki, sure, this is like a real
Yeah.
Leo Messi move. Argentinian pride. He'll. Are you kidding? For him, it'll be nothing. Okay, Haribo.
Haribo.
Good. Anybody else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's Isabel. Thank you for class.
Great, Isabel. Hope you're feeling good. Great.
I'm getting there. Thank you.
Okay, great. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Srila Radhika here. Yavat Sundari, Hare Krishna.
You're still in Vancouver?
Yes.
Are you getting settled? Because sometimes coming to a new place, it's very
It's taking a little bit of time, yeah.
It's intimidating because even though your previous country was so restricted, you knew where to get your sense gratification. Here, you don't know where to, but you get used to it. You meeting anybody?
Well, I'm going to different yoga studios to figure out how yoga works here. And I've gone to Kirtan of Vancouver also. They have like twice a month program, Kirtan, and also to the temple. And it's really nice. Yeah.
Okay. Yoga studios, I think your seminars on design is what you should market. Because that's unique. So many people are doing yoga. Anyway.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Such success. Okay. Haribo.
Thank you.
Right. This is my social life for like the week, so I'm staying on here. Although I'm getting some visitors tomorrow. Yeah. Vikram's going to visit me. Leela Vilasini is going to visit me. And Madhava Mishra. Remember that grandson of Prabhupada's first disciple? He did the puja, Siddheshri sat in it. Yeah, he really loves me. He's gonna come too. Okay, anybody else?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Krishna Das, through the semi-obeisances, Maharaj.
How you doing? I was gonna ask you how you doing. I mean, of course, it's like public now, but how you doing?
A little bit struggling, you know, some things are very nice, some things is a big struggle.
Any improvement on the?
No improvement.
It's the thing, it takes, it's like Vaidhi Bhakti, you only get the result at the end. At the end, it'll improve, I think. Okay. Thanks, nice to see you. Okay, I'm gonna head out now and thank you. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo vaishnava patitanam pavane.